if you would like to see if your eyes are compatible with the Hypno Eyes pack, there are two things you can try. First, we have the compatibility tester material over here. And the second thing is these contacts, which we have presets of and a video that you can follow that walks through the process of installing a preset, as well as a video of just setting up contacts on a model that does not have presets. We're going to focus on the material for now. And this just has some tests that you can follow. All three of these you will need to pass in case you only want to use the materials and not contacts. And if you're using contacts, you still might want to check if your textures pass this last test over here in case you want to use the overlay and the parallax texture slots on your materials. These are optional, you don't have to make sure that this passes it. Yeah, so the first thing that we should check is if the eyes pass the material slot compatibility test. And this starts off with us just having our material and dragging it onto the eyes of our model. And as you can see, the eyes have already changed color, which is a good sign. And the next thing we want to do is we just want to look around our model to see if anything else changed into this color of red. And in this situation, we're fine. We're looking for situations where the eye material slot shares other geometry in it. So basically, like if your eyes have if the material slot on which your eyes are in is also the material slot on which you have like hair, for example, or something else like that, like on this amp wave, for example, right? If we drag the material on the amp wave, we see that the eyes turn red, but also the hair turns red, and that's immediately a situation where we have our eyes that fail the test, which is not something that we want. In this situation, you'll have to separate the eyes into their own material slot, which we have a video on over here that you can follow. If you're using contacts, you're not going to need to do this, though, as the contacts are already going to be on their own material slot. Okay, so the second test are the centers compatibility test. And for this, the first thing that you're going to want to do is look through the presets over here. We already have a bunch, and if your model is listed over here, please just click on the button, and more likely than not, you will see these green little dots appear at the centers. And if you already see these and they're lined up properly with the centers of your eyes, then you've already passed the test. It's good. You may adjust the test circle size, but it's not really necessarily. This is just in case the circle is like way too small to be visible or way too large to be visible. So just make sure that it's in the center and it's looking fine. We can try this on the amp wave as well. It works fine. Try this on a wicker as well. Works fine. If your preset isn't listed here or something's wrong with the UV centers in the preset, you will need to find the UV centers manually. And we have a video for that. And if you notice that one of the presets is wrong, please let me know. DM me on Twitter or Discord. I will try my best to fix it. And if you do end up finding new UV centers for a new base model that you would like to share, also please let me know and let me know these values, and I will credit you and add them to the presets list. The next thing are the overlay and parallax texture compatibility tests. This one also going back a little bit, you only want to make sure that this passes the test if you want to use the 1D or polar shaders. The parallax shader doesn't need centers. They're optional in case you want to use some distortion fixes, and some effects, but you can use the parallax shader without having centers. However, if you want to use the parallax shader, you will need to make sure that the texture that you want to use passes this test. So for this one, we're just going to put the texture that we want to use for the overlay textures or the parallax texture slots into this texture parameter over here and see if that texture just looks fine on our model over here, on our model's eyes over here. So we're just going to use Cobalt eyes over here, you put them in the parameter slot, and as you can see, they work fine. Like, it kind of looks exactly what you'd expect. We just put in the Cobalt eyes into the Cobalt You just put the Compatible texture, eye texture into this texture slot over here, and it works fine. And this is exactly what we want. We want the texture to look fine. We want it to look properly oriented and properly scaled, and make sure that it's not like way off center or something. This is what we want. A texture, behind the scenes, this texture goes off the normal UVs of the eyes, and so to make sure that the parallax texture and the overlay textures work fine on the shaders, you will want to make sure that your texture is properly lined up with the UVs. Now, if we look at the wicker, we'll see an example of something that fails the test, right? As you can see, the texture is just kind of weird. It's like way off the side. It's not centered at all. It just looks wrong. So this texture won't work on a wicker, unfortunately. And the same thing for the amp wave here. The texture just won't work on these two. But it's not too much of a problem because we have a video showcasing how to adjust any kind of texture to make sure that it lines up properly with the UVs of your eyes, and to make sure that it works fine and the orientation and the scale are fine. So shouldn't be too much of a hassle in case there's a texture or an icon that you want to use and you don't quite know how to set it up. Yeah, if all three of these tests have passed, you're more than likely going to the shaders are just gonna more than likely work out of the box for you. If something like the material slot failed, then you might, and if you don't want to separate the eyes into a separate material slot, you're likely going to want to use the contacts. If you don't want to use, if you don't want to find UV centers in case your model doesn't have presets, you're also likely going to want to use the contact method instead. Assuming you want to use the 1D or polar shaders. And if you want to use the parallax shader or any of the overlay texture slots, and your textures fail the test, well, there's not much you can do except to just follow the tutorial and set up the textures. Yeah, that's about it.